I've watched guides on some characters who I haven't tried playing yet, and more often than not, it's just a guy reading what each ability is and how it works and how much damage it does. To me, that's not a guide, it's just reading their ability page for you.
Welcome to my advanced Iron Fist guide on how to play Iron Fist at a Grandmaster level. Without further ado, is your right click yeet kundo does 5 high-speed strikes if you keep holding it down. This is your right click. It's very useful. It's your primary attack. Okay, let's keep going. Next is your E ability.
Storm had one of the lowest pick rates across the board, most likely due to all those tier lists that put her at F, which I've always disagreed with and even made a whole video about, but unrelated. So I have a feeling with her recent buff that people will be giving her a shot. And I figured maybe I'd try making a guide for her that's more than just reading her abilities. And as an editor's note, now that I'm reading the script, she has one of the highest win rates in competitive. I wrote this at the start of Season 1 before I even started playing because I knew that the buff would do great. And I waited way too long to make this video.
Just an old message.
So yeah, this is a little late, so she's doing a lot better. Since I've had this video on backlog for so long, everyone should be used to her buffs by now, so I'm not going to go through them. She's simply a good duelist. Now, Storm is a flyer, but usually performs better near the ground, despite what people on comments will tell you. Her basic attack and bolt rush both pierce through enemies so you can damage the people behind them, and obviously the higher you get, the less likely you are to pierce through an enemy and hit somebody behind them. So you play on the ground, you're hitting the enemies better, right? Also, if you're sticking to the ground, healers will see you, because most players aren't looking up, and they will never start doing it, especially if they're focused on keeping the vanguards alive. You're not going to be unless the vanguard's Venom, maybe they're going to be looking up, but other than that, you're out of luck. And if you're on console, you will be way harder to hit the higher you go, so keep that in mind as well. And with Invisible Woman being so popular, her range isn't that far with her heals. It is worth noting though that Cloak and Dagger have the highest current pick rate, so even on consoles you'll get auto-aiming heals, but still unlikely that Dagger will look up. Obviously, there's going to be times that you fly off, whether it's for flanking, retreat, or reposition, and that's fine. You can leave the ground. I'm not saying never do it. Just make sure you're aware of your surroundings. Divers love going after aerial targets, especially a good Iron Fist and Spider-Man, and they excel at it. You do have countermeasures to that, however. Your Enhanced Thunder, once activated, will hit enemies in its radius with lightning and give you a 30% damage boost. So if you get in a sticky situation with somebody diving you, or when you need some elbow room, just activate it and hit them with your Bolt Rush. It'll do massive damage, and you should be able to finish off a squishy with a basic attack or two afterwards. Iron Man, Scarlet Witch, and Moon Knight can be issues when you're new to learning Storm, and obviously won't be around much in higher elos, but if you're just learning Storm, you're hopefully and probably only in quick play or in low elo like Bronze or Silver, so you're definitely going to encounter them, especially on console. Iron Man's beam and Scarlet's basic attack can weigh you down faster than you can even react sometimes, so keep an eye out on the red numbers near your health bar. The red indicates an enemy player in your radius, and the blue indicates a teammate. So if you see a 1 or a 2 show up that's red, but you don't see an enemy, just immediately activate your Enhanced Thunder and turn. The lightning hitting the enemy will help guide you to where they are, because if they're in the radius when you activate it, it'll hit them immediately. And when you turn, they're probably going to be behind you, so you'll see the lightning hit right behind you. You'll know where to aim your Bolt Rush. And do keep in mind that the ability of Enhanced Thunder and Enhanced Wind, that ability is a sphere around Storm and not a cylinder. So the higher you fly with her, the smaller the radius on the ground gets, and it does not help for hitting enemies or buffing your team. And of course then you have Moon Knight, whose whole kit counters your kit, so to speak. Storm wants to group up with teammates to buff them, while Moon Knight also wants you to group up with teammates because he can do massive damage to you. Also, if his on hits you, it'll knock you in the air, then you have to wait for Storm to land again, which always throws me off because she's a flyer. For a knock-up, you should be able to keep flying for the knock-up, but for a balance sake, it makes sense that you have to land first. That stun plus a couple basic attacks can wipe you out faster than you'd think, so flying above your team when the enemy is running him may be your best bet, but don't fly too high, especially if they have somebody like Hawkeye or Hela.
Okay.
If you have any game sense, you'll be aware of how to position Storm after a few rounds with her. Hawkeye and Hela, like I just said, will pick you off if you're too high, Squirrel Roll and Moon Knight will get you if you're too clumped together, and Spidey and Iron Fist will hunt you the entire game, just basic stuff like that. So stick behind your vanguards and other DPS and act sort of like a strategist. Volley your attacks from behind everybody and stay close enough to boost as many teammates as you can. Think of it like Luna's ult or Mantis' ult. You're sticking in that radius around your team to give everybody that healing, but in this case you're giving them the damage boost. On console, Dagger will probably be your best friend as her heals will follow you through the sky, and sticking to the ground will allow you to utilize more healing abilities like Loki's runes, or Luna's ult, or Mantis' ult, or any of their healing like primary fires in general will be able to hit you better if you're on the ground. And now with Storm's ultimate, the safest play with this is to activate it while you're behind cover, because you're still vulnerable during her animation and everybody's going to be looking for you to snipe you before you finish that animation. So you're behind cover, you activate it, and then will go underground similar to Jeff and move yourself to the enemy backlines to start her attack. Because this way you can knock out their healers and start moving towards your team, maybe taking out a duelist or two along the way and doing some damage to your vanguards. Then you can exit your ultimate near your teammates and safe. And don't really prioritize the tanks unless you can guarantee a pick with it. Your team should be able to clean them up if you take out the support. With Storm's new buff, you retain your bonus health for a few seconds after the ult, giving you extra means of escape or to finish off a few enemies if you can. Activate your enhanced thunder and bolt rush a low health enemy if it's safe to stick around, especially if your team's right beside you. Storm's other enhanced ability, the wind one that I mentioned earlier, it allows you and your team to move a little bit faster and enemies in the area to move a little bit slower, and to be honest, even using it to get to a point faster doesn't make a huge difference. And the thunder version is more helpful when somebody dives you, but it's good to know what it does anyways in case you do decide to use it. Use it at the start of the game to try and get into a domination point early if you want, or return to the payload after losing a team fight. That can be beneficial for the payload one, but at the beginning of the game it's not going to do anything. At the beginning of the game it's better to hold on to that and use the thunder one to boost your team's damage and your own damage at the beginning of the fight in general, instead of using your wind to get there faster. Her team up with Thor also gives her a new lightning ability that is pretty similar to Bolt Rush, but it chains to targets instead of pierces. This can be utilized when you're higher in the air, so you don't need to worry about piercing, or you can just use it in combo with your other attacks on the ground. It has a pretty long cooldown, so it's not the greatest and doesn't do that much damage, but it is nice to have an extra attack if your Bolt Rush is on cooldown, or you just need a little bit of chaining to go along. Just also don't forget that Storm can't headshot, she can't do critical damage, so aim at center mass with all of her attacks and you'll be doing fine. Speaking of team-ups, although not official, some fun combos to try with Enhanced Thunder is to buff Punisher while he's in his turret. You don't even need to activate the Enhanced, it still does like a base damage if you're near him, but you can activate it, buff his turret, stack buffs with Rocket, and I honestly don't know if you can. Do they stack? I don't know, but you can try, you can experiment and see what happens. Or, for some god-awful reason, if somebody's playing Black Widow on your team, you could buff her sniper shots, maybe making her worthwhile, I don't know. You're probably going to be throwing if you're playing with Black Widow.
What do you mean by that?
But hey, it could be fun. If it's in quick play, who cares anyways? You don't need to win in quick play. And then once Human Torch is added to the game in the middle of the season, he will have a team up with Storm that sets her ultimate on fire, making it more powerful. So keep an eye out for how well that does once he's released. Maybe that combo will start rising through the ranks if it's any good. We see Storm doing really well anyways, so maybe Storm and Human Torch will be a new meta, you never know. Now with Storm's buffs, this video is a little bit delayed, but with her buffs, by now you should have been able to gather that you can easily get 30 or 40 KOs on longer games in low elo. For example, this gameplay right now is from Silver a while ago, and I got 43 eliminations, and it wasn't like a spectacular game or anything, it was just basic. With any, really, to be honest, with any long elo game, you're going to be getting 40 kills no matter what, but you're going to be getting there first before everybody else, and probably quite a bit higher kills than everybody else. So because of that, set that for your goal while you're learning to play her in quick play or low elo. Once you're hitting high 20 KOs per game, even if you're losing the game, it'll be signs that you're ready to use her in low elo if you're just doing quick play. If you're already in low elo, then ignore that. With how good she is now, you could probably play her for the first time in low elo and do well anyways. Just don't play her like Iron Man and you're going to be fine. She does not have splash damage. She's not better in the air. So to summarize how to play Storm is basically the couple of things I went over. I'm just going to refresh everybody's memory at the end because it's a lot of information at once. So avoid flying too high with her. Play between your vanguards and strategists, hopefully alongside your other duelists unless you have divers like Psylocke or whatever. Use Enhanced Thunder to buff your team, counter dives, or clean up a fight with a buffed Bolt Rush. A lot of your attacks from the backlines piercing through enemies to do more damage than another DPS could do in that situation. Activate your ultimate from behind cover while Storm does her animation, then move to the backlines before the hurricane starts, and take out the enemy support and move towards your team once it begins so that you're safe when it ends. And then once you get the hang of Storm, you can start doing riskier plays. Your game sense should help you know how to react to certain scenarios, and no guide can teach you game sense. If you're new to Rivals or hero shooters in general, it'll just take time. You're not going to just know it from a tutorial or two. Try playing every character for an hour, maybe 2 hours. Make them all knights if you know what I mean by that. And learn the maps. It'll come to you naturally. There are way too many people who play 1 or 2 characters and don't know how to do anything else, and that is ridiculous. You should know the bare minimum of how to play. I know there's a lot of characters. There's 35. That would be 35 hours if you did 1 hour for each character. So sure, don't do that. Play 2 matches. That's what? If you're doing quick play, 2 matches is 20 minutes, okay? Play 2 matches with each character. Don't swap. Throw the game if you have to. Just play 2 games with each character and learn how they all work, and that'll help you in every aspect, not just Storm. And that's it. I hope this helps. So like and subscribe and all that stuff if you're cool. See ya.